Hello and welcome to CTN. To learn more about the show, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. And today's topic is elevating customer experiences through data and AI innovation. Well, so when we talk about the world that we are living in today, customer experience is very important. And frankly, it is one of the top agenda for most organizations because that's the way for them to stay ahead of the curve and stay competitive. Now, when it comes to as businesses are trying to shape these customer experiences and interaction, and they're trying to use the digital transformation related efforts and emerging technologies, and also they are trying to redefine what their data strategy is. They're also at the same time been encountering this interesting, evolution of AI. So they're also looking at using AI, but then you have an issue with their ethics and how to best use it. So there are so many different variables that are coming through. So at the end of it, if we were to focus our discussion on figuring out what is the best possible route or perhaps a recipe which will allow us to truly revolutionize or reimagine customer experiences using data and AI, what would that look like? And to discuss this, I have with me Siddhartha Chatterjee, who's the Vice President, Global Chief Data Officer with Club Med. Hey, Sid, how are you?
Hi, Sanjog. I'm doing fine. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Pleasure is all mine. So as I kind of try to paint the picture, Sid, when we are talking about customer experience, that's actually one of the hottest thing an organization could invest in. And not just hot, it's the most critical thing. At the same time, we have had companies dealing with the data and AI related challenges, innovation attempts, and whatever the results are that are sometimes great, sometimes not so great. So that is an ongoing evolution. But now, given that customer experience is the end goal and data and AI are kind of the ingredients of that recipe, what is holding people back from making that beautiful pizza, which is made out of a pizza of customer experience, which is made out of the ingredients, which is data and AI? What's the top challenge people face?
Thanks, Sanjog, for the question. And absolutely, before starting, I would like to say that there's no better time to work in data and AI than today, and where, as you rightly mentioned, everything is coming together, including this disruption of AI. Now, coming back to your question about what's holding back realizing the full potential of customer experience. I mean, it's still the same kind of reasons. I can make a parallel with my own industry, which is the tourism industry and the travel industry, which has for a long time suffered with a lot of legacy systems in their organizations. And the legacy systems are, they can be an obstacle to, have the interoperability between different systems. And as you rightly said, that the customer is the king. Everything that we do, especially in our business, the whole business is around the customer and how to make a customer as happy and as satisfied as possible. So unless and until you have this interoperability between data sources, overhaul of legacy systems, have the right organizations. I think even today, a lot of companies are not having the optimal right organization within their enterprise to take full value of data and analytics, which is a shame because, as you rightly said, the core of an amazing or amplified customer experience is actually the customer knowledge and the customer data that we can use in an ethical and a powerful way to provide amazing services to our customers.
Now, when you are saying like the environment that you're talking about, while the opportunity is there and there are some challenges, but frankly, anything new will have challenges. So how do you see your organization where you are at Club Med or your peers? How are they tackling it? Are they feeling already like tired heroes, or they are optimistic and zealous in terms of reaching out and doing things and ignoring the hurdles because they see the opportunities too huge? What's the mindset as people are trying to tackle these challenges?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of questions within your question, and I think there's a resurgence right now, with generative AI and all the buzz that we are having, and it's putting the agenda of data and analytics right on top of the table. Having said that, I think, there's this notion of also the different generations of CDOs. The first generation of CDO was working a lot on compliance and mitigating risk in the years 2000 up till 2010. And then from 2010, you had the second generation of CDOs who were working a lot on data management and data governance, right? But unfortunately, everything to do with risk or data management or governance, they remain kind of in the background, and it's hard to get the right kind of investment and corporate executive level sponsorship. And this is why I think the current generation of CDOs, including myself, are more of the third generation CDOs, whose primary responsibility is to create value out of data and create great products and services for our customers and also internally for the employees. It's putting the topic back on the table, and there is more investment coming. There's more interest. Earlier you had to work a lot on creating a culture and to make people understand the value of data analytics, artificial intelligence. I think with currently what's happening in the space of artificial intelligence, I think we are winning many years on this culture building because people are educating themselves by themselves, right? So you have lots of inbound requests to create value through data, through AI and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in the market, in different companies, and people are using different ways to create value and progress. Data mesh was something which was being talked about a lot recently. I think now it's going down a little bit, but at the core, I think you need the right sponsorship at the very high level, and then you need the right organization, a federal organization to really get the message across, and then to start building those use cases bottom up and creating value in an iterative manner.
See, when you speak about this whole area of something new, something showing potential, we all jump on it. And it's almost like deja vu when we had digital transformation concept was introduced. And a lot of people started playing with it, and they started figuring out a way to show enough use cases and try to get funding and somehow get it injected so that they sound relevant. And they, in fact, to some extent could become relevant. But we also found that there was a whole lot of disappointment when the things that were being tried were neither practical nor were they able to show them those investments to be measurably impactful, which in crude terms means money was wasted, which could have been used elsewhere. And it's to some extent, we understand it's sandboxing, so you do it, but then it becomes a gold rush or a chase for something shiny versus what truly helps the business. So in your experience and in your view, how do we prevent from the kind of wastage that we saw during this digital transformation wave to not recur in this new data and innovation age where we are trying to work on customer experience and we put a lot of things, but if they're not impactful, we don't waste the precious resources and the dollars that we have today?
This is a fantastic question, and I often make the parallel with the digital revolution also. Today I think there is a moment like the iPhone moment. So several years back when the iPhone came, every company, they wanted to have an iPhone application. Similarly, when you had the e-commerce revolution, every company, they wanted to have an internet marketplace and selling products online and moving from brick and mortar to online. But in reality, very few companies actually succeeded in having that blockbuster app or having a profitable e-commerce model, right? I think same thing holds today. I mean, there is a gold rush and there is this, let's say spring of AI. If you look at the history of AI also, you call what is the springs and the winters of AI, right since 1950. So I think right now there is a spring, but in order to make sure that we don't have a winter very soon, the strategy at least that, I would suggest is to be quite pragmatic, really target, let's say, investments iteratively. Big bang is never good. At least in my experience, the last 15 years that I've been working in this domain, I've seen that, big bang strategies don't work, and I can vouch for that. You need to really target pain points and make sure that you're addressing some problem, some concrete problem, you're iterating, failing fast. There was also a period that a lot of companies, they did a lot of proof of concepts. A data organization became like a lab. A lot of companies call their organizations as a data lab, which I really don't agree with, because it's such a core topic. It's such a business topic that why would you call a department a lab, right? So in my opinion, to answer simply your question is that you can no longer operate in the lab mode. You have to be very pragmatic. You have to talk to the business stakeholders, build very deep relationships with your business departments and your peers and your stakeholders. Really understand the customer journey, understand the customer pain points, and then select between use cases which give a lot of visibility and create, let's say, enthusiasm in the company, and certain very practical, maybe background use cases which can allow you to show results very rapidly, and being sure that you're anticipating well the potential pitfalls, because these are new technologies. We don't know how exactly they will work. So it's very important to start small, get initial results, anticipate for problems, and then be in a very agile methodology of working.
So if you were to take some practical examples, right, which you might have, maybe initiatives that you undertook, or keep that in mind as you respond to my question. What was your due diligence, or what realistic due diligence you could have done before embarking on that journey for digital transformation, or you're embarking on now for data and AI, which gives you a reasonable assurance that you will get some ROI which would be worth it for the business, versus everything built on that hope and wishful thinking that, well, it looks like it has potential, we have to experiment. But at some point, the boss wants to know, where's the money going to come from, and you're going to take money from me.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, if you look at, our business, which is in the hospitality space, we've got 70 resorts worldwide in 40 countries. You take my other companies where I've worked for, ADP, where we control more than 30 airports around the world. So I often give the example of physical assets, like a resort or an airport. It doesn't get built overnight, and this is sometimes the problem with, let's say, the digital field or the data or whatever. You get an impression that because it's powerful, because it's scalable, that it is fast, right? So it's very important to have that clear communication in terms of the expectation management. You got to manage the expectations, and there is a time of setup. There is a time of building the foundations. And in my case, in terms of practical examples, when I arrived in the company, my first priority was to ensure that we have the right organization in place, right? A right organization within the data office at the global level, and also the right kind of organizations or interlocutors in different markets and in different business units, right? For me, this is the foundation. So if you don't have the right organization, that people, individuals don't know what their exact roles and responsibilities are, I think that's a direct recipe for failure, right? So and that takes a bit of time to build. So once you have put that in place, then the next objective is obviously to understand, the business very deeply, and also understand what are the pain points of your internal stakeholders, right? Along with obviously your external stakeholders. And then you need to very quickly move from organization and communication to a governance. And for me, governance today is not a central aspect of data and AI. It is extremely necessary, but if you invest too much of time and energy into governance, then there is a possibility that you lose your stakeholders' interest. So very quickly, you need to start with certain use cases, which provide value, which show results, and which are truly useful, right? So I think we are, in my opinion, a data and AI department is a business partner of his internal stakeholders, and his first role is to really, create that partnership, and to understand, what are the quick wins and what are the long-term wins, and start working on those quick wins without really losing the vision of a long term, right? Middle term or long term strategy. I think when you start doing that, and obviously the last point is extremely important, is talent acquisition, right? So if you do not have the right amount of talent in the team, the right skill sets, whether it is engineering, whether it is data science, whether it is product management, whether it is data analyst, etc., right? So you cannot do anything. At the end of the day, even though we are working with tools and technologies, the people make a big difference and a big role to play, because at the end of the day, you also need to be creative, right? And you need to think out of the box. And how can you think out of the box unless and until you don't have that deep link with your internal stakeholders and you have the right talent in place?
Anything specific that you can share, and you don't need to go into the actual factual details, but something which worked for you on a couple of different levels? Namely, one, when somebody comes to you as a cool thing, which they want to see implemented because it is new, you are able to explain to them that this may not be in the best interest of the business. And then on the other times, when you were not looking, but when you saw weak signals, you were able to take those weak signals to determine that, man, this particular initiative, if was given the due focus, this could turn into a major ROI, and you were able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can give you a few examples, at Club Med, which has been about a year that I'm working over here. And I can also talk about, my previous experiences. So for example, I spoke about legacy systems in the travel industry, right? So in our company, we took a major decision of revamping all our legacy systems and putting in place a data factory on the cloud, in real time, real state of the art data factory. So this is a long project. It's a profound project because it requires so many different tracks to run simultaneously. It is a 12 to 18 month project, right? And then you need to make sure also that your data factory is functional and it's robust. So there are two ways of working on this kind of a transformation. One is that you wait right till the end of that cycle, and then you start working on, let's say, business cases. So for example, one of the things that I thought that would work and which actually worked is that not to rely on all the use cases on our cutting edge platform, but also start certain things on our old platforms which are still usable. So to give an example, I mean we are a completely omni-channel company, and we have most of our customers coming through direct channels. So on average annually we receive about 1 million calls, and our customer experience designers, travel experience designers need to process all these calls, right? So we quickly saw that there is potentially a chance of creating value and creating optimization in our telephone systems and things like that. So we did a quick use case of taking a sample of a few thousand call recordings and then analyzing that with natural language processing, speech recognition, and deriving rich sets of insights. So once we had that, and that took about a few weeks to do, and immediately it kind of gave very rich insights to our business units, right? And for who could start then working on strategies of building some services or communicating with the customers, etc. Right? So if I give you another example that I had in my previous company in Group ADP, so there was this phase where it was difficult to get new use cases or getting those big projects going, and we saw that that there was this real opportunity of doing automation. So for one of the departments who worked on airline marketing, we saw that they spent a lot of time in building reports and consolidating Excel files to build business cases for airline companies to create new routes. So we said that why not work with these guys and then automate it end to end, the reporting that they are doing, right? So it's not a very sexy project, but when we did that, we actually realized that we are saving more than 80% of time that they spend, right? So similarly, when you do one and then you see that there are so many other places where you can actually do automation, right? And another example is often it is sort of underlooked at, but I think business intelligence or data visualization is super important. So while we were working on profound use cases on omni-channel customer journey and building a unique view of the client, we relied also on delivering reports which are user friendly, which are intuitive, which are intelligent to our different business units who gained value immediately, right? So in the first 4 to 6 months, you can build a lot of value by doing certain analysis which gives a lot of customer insights, or providing reports which were not existing before but which can unlock a lot of efficiency at your stakeholders end.
Now, where you have tried to do things, what are the top issues in terms of adoption? Because see, one is that you get something created in the lab, but most of the time digital transformation or even data and AI related, AI is too new for us to comment as much. While it's not new in the sense AI has been existing, but in an enterprise setting, the adoption journey is just getting started. But for data, there has been a lot of effort put in, but adoption becomes the problem. What do you say is the top learnings you've had in terms of when somebody starts building something new and cool, which looks like it has all the ROI promise, but still it does not get adopted because of XYZ reason? What are those top reasons that you've seen which hinder adoption?
So adoption is a key point, and I'm so glad that you're mentioning it to me. And I've seen this problem for the last 10 years, because I mean, even when I was working at Technicolor, which was before I started working at Ogilvy and Publicis, we were working on very cutting edge AI projects, such as analysis of videos and analysis of social network data and building fancy tools. And what I realized is that you can build the fanciest tools and very sophisticated analytics tools or products or whatever, but there is if you cannot get it adopted, then it comes back to your point about wasting the investment money, right? So how can you actually ensure a good adoption? The best way to do a good adoption is not to start a project unless and until you have not asked the right questions to your stakeholder when he is requesting for a certain product to be built. So I think the heart of the problem is really to ask those right relevant questions to be very sure that the initiative that you are going to take is matching with the pain point or his real need, right? Because if you have, and in the digital also we speak about this, creating a sticky product. And the only way you can create a sticky product is if you're delivering something which addresses a real need, right? So that's where I think we made a lot of progress, in the sense that, we had a product management department in the data office, and in the beginning we invested a lot of time to really speak with the stakeholders and ensure that before we start any project, that it is matching with their exact needs. But that's the first part. And after you actually work on it and you deliver it, I think you need to be very careful about and very rigorous in ensuring that you are tracking the usage metrics. If I talk about dashboards or business intelligence or data visualization, we look at continuously, how many number of unique users are visiting these dashboards, what are the views, etc. And if we see that there's a drop in adoption, so we go back to these users and we talk to them, right? So there might be the right intention, there might be the right product, but if you don't have the right bandwidth, at the other end, then the adoption will get hampered, right? So that's where also you got to help and handhold your user for adoption.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back after these messages. And then let's talk about that while we are going to be gung-ho about the data and AI as we are trying to be, in that race, in that trying to finding the ROI, and in that trying to sandboxing, at what point are you able to make a dent in the customer experiences? Because that's what you started with as the end goal. And how do you measure it? So one is to create an impact, but another is to measure and say, we are only going to focus on measurable impact. How do you go about doing it and still at the same time work with the evolving data and AI landscape? Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today, enterprise technology is both strategic and global. Each week on CTN CIO Talk Network, IT thought leaders from around the world share their experience with listeners as they discuss with Sanjog Aul how they are trimming costs and partnering with business to innovate and help IT become more competitive, better care for customers, and improve the corporate bottom line. If you want to keep up with IT thought leadership, listen to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul at CIOTalkNetwork.com. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul. To learn more about our program, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So, Sid, you know that we all would have two sides of the journey. One is you start with an end in mind, which is you would say, okay, we want to improve customer experiences and there should be some sort of a benchmark. On the other hand, you got other issues with respect to the very evolving field of data and AI. Second is when you try different things, some things work or don't work, you do sandboxing and then you have adoption challenges. All of that said, the experiences that you generate, number one, are we able to measure them? Are they hard metric or soft metric? So if at all they're hard metric with the amount of effort that's going in, are we being net positive in this effort? Which means whatever you did, it should not be a loss-making effort.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of metrics, I think both the metrics are super important. Hard metrics are obviously the hardcore business metrics, whether it is repeat customers or increased revenue or incremental revenue. And soft metrics are your customer satisfaction, your internal productivity, etc. And both go hand in hand. If you look at only one, I think then you miss the picture, right? And you got to look at your department as a business enabler, right? So you've got to be focused on these two, soft and hard metrics. And in terms of soft metrics, for example, what we measure is the satisfaction levels of our, internal clients, right? And I think that's a very rich source of insight, right? And in terms of the hard metrics, we look at, the different, let's say, predictive intelligence that we put in place in marketing or sales, etc. Are we actually generating incremental business, and then also defining the right way to measure these incremental business, right? It could be on media, it could be on CRM, it could be on e-commerce. It's very essential to have the right frameworks of metrics to measure, and then to measure it on a regular basis on the hard metric side. And on the soft metrics, I think the primary role of a data office is also to ensure that the internal stakeholders are satisfied. And often, I mean, it sounds simple, but trust me, in the different organizations that I've worked, it's something that you do rarely. Actually measuring how your internal stakeholders are satisfied with the services that you're providing.
So Sid, when you're, based on what you said, I mean, these are the different things that you use, the different kind of metric that you use. What is that metric telling you right now, based on what your experience has been thus far? Are there areas of improvement in specific dimensions that we should start focusing on so that the overall outcome is maximized?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes back to the adoption, and it also comes back to let's say prioritization. I think this is a real challenge because as the field is very promising and there are so many different avenues and you can do multiple things. And as data and AI is a core field that you can literally work on any kind of a topic, any kind of a business. So there is this tendency to start too many projects and then sort of also be burdened by the workload. So in terms of what we are seeing positive results, obviously, in the initiatives that we are taking. But it's more globally that we are doing it, on the digital transformation, is to ensure that, we prioritize very precisely the initiatives that we are going to take. So to give an example, we are using the OKR methodology, right? The objective key results. And that's something really interesting. And we do spend a lot of time in defining exactly how we're going to set our objectives, right? And objectives have to be long-term, and then, breaking those objectives into short-term key results and trying to formulate those key results, as much as possible to be business oriented. It could be soft metrics, it could be hard metrics, but not having key results such as, let's say, creating an ETL. I'm kind of caricaturing it, but that's not the right objective, right? So the right key result has to be creating X amount of ETLs to ensure that the supply chain unit is, increasing 10% in productivity, etc. So I think that effort that we are putting in, is allowing us to prioritize. And I think down the road, we can prioritize more and more so that we can really focus. And focus is the key word over here, right? Because you need to give it all. When you take on an initiative to ensure that you go right till the end and you generate great results, you have to have that right balance between the actual capacity that you have, the demand that you have, and match that, capacity and supply with that demand. And then using a very strict prioritization technique and goal settings, measuring it at very short intervals, whether you're going on the right track or not.
So as you're working with your business unit leaders and business users and your own team, what are the top complaints that they are having, which is what you have to tackle for them to do the best they can to help achieve the maximum outcome? What is it that you're hearing from them?
It's I wouldn't call it as a complaint, but I would rather call it as a pain point. And often the pain point that you can come across is that bandwidth issues on both the sides. Because when you do such a massive transformation, you need to really work on huge amounts of initiatives, right, and tracks, right? So there can be a bandwidth issue time to time at the business unit end. It can also be at our end, right? So that's one. And then secondly is also, a bit of uncertainty around when we are overhauling legacy tools, etc. What is the right choices that we need to make in terms of the technologies that we are taking, or in terms of the teams that we are creating. So I wouldn't say that there are any kind of complaints, but there is this constant challenge of matching the objectives, the ambitions, initiatives, with the actual reality on the field, which is bandwidth issues, and then real operational, also balancing between, let's say, operational needs and long-term strategic, projects that can give you, a lot of value, but the result is not immediate, right? So I would say rather that's the challenge of finding that right balance between short-term gains and then investing on long-term strategic gains.
As business unit leaders, right? I mean, I know business users and others, you will collaborate. What is it that would motivate and is motivating them? Because as you're on this journey, right, yourself, right? So customer experience is everybody's responsibility, and it takes a village to deliver that customer experience. And frankly, when you talk about data and AI, somehow if you go to your marketing or your ops and other kind of department, they'll say, you know what, that's not my problem. That's your problem because you're the CDO. How do you bring them in the same court? And how do you get them going so that they support you, and in turn, you are going to deliver to them what they wanted?
The problem is, it's often, or the opportunity at the business unit is, as you rightly said, it's not the data, right? It is their objectives, and right now, what most marketers are there's been a big change of marketing, right? So you no longer call it marketing, you call it more as, customer experience, which you have been using, right? Or designing experiences. So we require to create services that give more, autonomy to our, let's say, internal marketing or salespeople. And then at the customer end also, they require a lot of services which allows them to have self-care. And what do I mean by self-care? Self-care is being able to access information about our products and services. If they are going to a certain resort, to know post-transaction, to know exactly what are the activities that are available, what are the timings of the child care facilities, or things like what is the where is the swimming pool located, or what is the menu in the restaurant, and things like that, right? So today we do spend a lot of time in engaging with our customers in order to convey them certain informations that potentially they can access this information in self-care on our multiple omni-channel touch points, right? Whether it is the website, whether it is the mobile application, whether it is messaging systems, etc. And tomorrow maybe there'll be metaverse. Right now it's not so much of a buzzword. So I think the discussion is constant, as to how can we leverage the customer knowledge that we have and the data assets that we have, and then combine it with digital opportunities of creating these memorable and really let's say impactful services for our customers. And the discussion is often around that. How can I understand better the customer journey, right? To have better sales conversion. How can I create customer services that give our customers more self-care, right? How can I reduce let's say the bounce rate on the website, and based on that actually we through design thinking and these kind of methodologies, we place data within this objective, rather than actually, as you rightly said, working with data for the sake of working with data. Data for me has no value unless and until it can really serve a purpose, and I gave you examples of certain purposes that business units look for.
If you are to go ahead and get everyone in your team to start giving you the right kind of use cases, which actually are helping them on the ground, right? So you are asked to help activate those use cases, I believe, right? And then you go ahead and do that. And then they try to use it. Where all have you seen you've had unprecedented or like a totally unexpected, but a positive success when it comes to data and AI related use?
Yeah. So in terms of the use cases, approach that we have adopted is not to enforce use cases or top down, where, we are coming with use cases, or the other way that you said, right, that the business units are actually providing us with use cases. We actually do a bottom up approach, right? And this is where I think there's a good change that is happening, in terms of sourcing those use cases based on pain points, right? And in terms of, successes, for example, when I arrived, one of of the main initiatives or the ambition was to build a good omni-channel data set, where you can actually understand clearly the customer journey, across our 11 touch points. And for your information, between the first first contact of the customer till the final transaction, on average we have about 100 days, and obviously it depends on the different countries. So it's a really long customer journey. And the second advantage that we have is that we have a direct distribution, right? So we do not go through OTAs like Booking.com and Expedia to actually get customers. So we have more than 70% of our customers who are coming through direct channels, right? So we have a very rich data source and a rich customer database. But there was this real requirement to join the dots and create an omni-channel vision of the customer, right? So this is something that we prioritize in the beginning, instead of prioritizing, let's say, other kinds of projects working on these siloed data sets. And we really, spend time on that, and we build this omnichannel data set, and then we provided it to our, marketing units, etc. And they started seeing the value, right, in terms of optimizing their actions and understanding more the customer journey. And from there, you can have all kinds of activations of, optimizing your call centers, optimizing your emails, relooking at your marketing journey, etc. So this is one of them, but obviously there are other successes also. And I just mentioned to you, which was on the data visualization, right? So on data visualizations, we had very good feedback and very good adoption, which then led to productivity in terms of huge amounts of man days which are saved by X teams.
When you're moving at 100 miles an hour, like the way you are, right? You're giving ideas, people are asking for ideas, you're adopting them, you're sandboxing them, they're putting it into action, they're seeing value. Now, this engine will only become a bigger engine, a faster engine. But then at the same time, that's where the data governance part, because if you look at data initiatives, where fundamentally data itself has to be good, and for AI, data itself has to be good. So that means data governance has to be run properly. And for that, you need to have proper infrastructure, proper, rules, regulations, policies, and then again, adoption of that needs to be rock solid. And in fact, when we are looking at the AI landscape changing, even the data management structures like data mesh came out, and now people are also thinking about something even more evolutionary to handle AI. How do you keep up with that and keep your initiatives going at 100 miles an hour, but not at any given time where you have compliance and governance issues? What have you done to stay sane with data and AI related work and making sure the organization gets most value, at the same time doesn't have a lawsuit or anything else that that can happen when you have improper data governance?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great question because, often a data and AI strategy is looked at as a leapfrog strategy. If you understand what I mean, like leapfrogging, from one point to the next point. And it is actually a huge challenge because data governance is absolutely, essential because that is the foundation of everything, right? So if you don't have the right data sets, if you don't have the right quality, if you don't have the right, exhaustivity of those data sets, and you don't have the right roles and responsibilities of who is in charge of, which data set of data assets, it becomes a big hindrance, right? But at the same time, you cannot have all the conversations around data governance because otherwise then, you don't see any business value, right? At the top level management, data governance is not a business topic, right? So you need to justify as to why do you need data governance. So we try to adopt the data mesh and we are implementing it. But right now we are not using the term data mesh because it can become a bit confusing, So we are trying to apply the principles of data mesh, right? And what are the principles of data mesh? So more about decentralization, of value creation, ensuring that we are organizing our data assets in different categories, whether it is transportation, whether it is sales, whether it is marketing, whether it is media, CRM, etc. So ensuring that we are giving identity to our different data assets, exactly the way you would manage physical assets, and then onboarding people through a lot of training and explanation and onboarding them to take responsibility of these data assets, right? And these people, then they also work with different product owners, which are in the data office, but also in the business unit. And the thing that we realized and we put in place is really an incremental approach. Because if you try to, the CDO comes and then, within 3 days wants to put in place a data governance and sort out the, whole palace, it's not possible. You can take the analogy of cleaning a little apartment versus cleaning a huge chateau. It's not the same thing, right? So you got to clean it room by room, right? And then it has to be aligned with the use cases also that you're trying to achieve, right? So if you're trying to create a omnichannel journey of your customer and then take actions, then it is good to apply the data mesh principles on your data sets which are around the omnichannel journey, right? And then having the right stewards looking after that, right? So this is how we are doing it. And then obviously there's a lot of community building and also making it fun, right? Having interactions and sharing content and things like that, and making it a bit more fun than a very serious topic. Because sometimes governance sounds like a government with ministries and things like that, and that's what we are trying to avoid, and making the process more seamless, integrated with the use cases and the value generation.
One last question, which is also one of the most important questions, is the leadership that a CDO, business leaders, executive management have to, the style that they have to use, right? What is it that you've seen been most successful in terms of the leadership mindset, communication style, collaboration style, which has actually allowed your organization, and what you've seen in many other organizations has allowed them to use data and AI to really bring good customer experiences?
In terms of the qualities of the leadership, I think, and I think you would agree with me, I think humility is the number one quality that a CDO or a data leader, of a data function needs to have. Because as you rightly, and we discussed this, that there have been so many, you can see so many examples of things going wrong, and also within the CDO community, you see a big churn, right? So on average, the CDO tenure is not more than 2 to 3 years, and that for me is a big tragedy as to why the CDOs are not able to go more than 2 or 3 years. So I think humility is very important. Understanding the business is extremely important, because at the end of the day, I mean, data and AI and all these things mean nothing unless and until you are in sync with the realities of the company or the organization, in link with the pain points of your stakeholders. And for that, I think going on the field and actually learning on the field. For example, from time to time, I go to our call centers and I sit and discuss with our agents, just to understand and just watching them talk to the customer and understanding, the questions of the customers and the friction points and, how are they using the systems and things like that. Similarly, going to the resorts and then, talking to our, GOs, as they are called to see, how they're working and what they're doing and how they're dealing with the customer, talking to the customers. I mean, I think the best thing to do is to talk to the customers, and you learn so many things, right? So I think, being humble, not taking for granted that everything is going to work, anticipating, going on the field and actually seeing what's happening, working with your, actual operational people, and understanding how they work. And then obviously, communication and, in French, we call it like pedagogy, of having this ability to actually simplify things. I think, in one of the interviews I mentioned a conference, it was, they asked me what is actually the role that the CDO plays in data governance, right? So I said that the role a CDO plays is that of a CTO. And what did I mean by CTO, a chief talking officer? I said it in a joking manner, but I think it's really important to be able to simplify and talk and, and talk with as many people as possible and explain what we are doing and about the, advantages, the opportunities, but also the complexities, and to, make them feel that you are in their team, right? So, and you're not let's say a separate entity, who's doing his own thing, but really in sync with the actual business operations, and in the simplification process of explaining the advantages.
On behalf of the listeners and CTN, I'd really like to thank you, Sid, for sharing your insights about how organizations have a tremendous opportunity here to leverage the data and AI evolution, and I would say almost a revolution, to elevate customer experiences. And thanks for your anecdotes and insights.
Thank you so much, Sanjog. It was a pleasure to be on CIO Network and wish you a great day.
Thanks so much. And listeners, please connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast. Once again, thank you for listening to CTN. This is your host, Sanjog Aul, signing off. Till next week, take care and God bless.